We're in this sort of like toxic food environment, and people want to make healthy decisions, but it's getting harder and harder.
This is Jieun, a Korean-American nutritionist living in Singapore. After our last interview, I asked for her help to improve my eating habits. And in this video, we talk about whether I succeeded, the hidden health risks in Singapore's food scene, and secret tips to avoid feeling tired. I'm Max Chernov, your insider to a healthy life. Let's go. You're from the US originally, and you also been to Dubai for a few years, right?
10 years.
Now Singapore. Can you compare what's the biggest, let's say, health problems linked to diet in the US, in the Middle East, in Dubai specifically, and in Singapore?
So I think in the US or in Dubai, or actually even in Singapore, really, I think the key diet issues are that we are just consuming so many more ultra-processed foods, these UPFs. They're like aliens, right? UFOs, UPFs. I just see that that's a really big problem. These processed foods are very convenient. They're designed to be very tasty. They're very addictive. They're marketed. So I think this is really a big problem where we're taking a lot of sort of staple ingredients. We're just reformulating them in different ways, packaging them in different ways, and then selling them. I think we're in this sort of like toxic food environment, and people are trying to, or they want to make healthy decisions, but it's getting harder and harder. And so, we see kind of the same things in any developed country. We're seeing, cardiovascular disease, we're seeing diabetes, we're seeing hypertension, high cholesterol. All of these issues are usually the top 5 big health problems in whether it's in the US, in the Middle East, or in Asia.
So mine is high cholesterol that we wanted to tackle.
Yeah.
This one. I not done my new test yet. I will do it later.
Okay, good.
But okay, so I came to you. That was like a couple of the goals that I had, right?
Yeah.
One is like high cholesterol. Another one is like how to build healthy habits. Another one is how to lose a little bit of weight, but mainly like burn fat.
Yeah.
So maybe minus 3-5 kg of like unnecessary weight.
Yeah.
And like, okay, for cholesterol, how long will it take to actually lower down the cholesterol?
I've seen it as fast as 2 months, and I've seen it as long as 6 months, 7 months. It really comes down to you, and it really comes down to how, involved you are in your self-care. And when I say that, I mean how involved you are in making the choices every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and choosing those foods that help manage your cholesterol. I think that mindset, again, I think you were pretty disciplined. I think you kind of understood and you were actioning it. The trouble is you were traveling a lot. You had a lot of work stuff, right? So life gets in the way. Yeah. I'm super curious as to how your numbers turn out also. But I think we focused a lot on fiber, right? Because fiber is that handcuff to cholesterol that binds to cholesterol and helps us excrete it. So as long as we're hitting our fiber targets for you, I'm hoping that your body is doing all the hard work and is starting to manage. But let's say, for example, you're like, Jieun, I've been working really hard. I'm so focused on it, but every night I'm having a glass of wine, or every night I'm having a cocktail. Then I'm going to be like, Max, like that is actually sending a mixed signal to our body. Our liver is trying to process, trying to balance that cholesterol because it's the headquarters for cholesterol. But if we're consuming alcohol and we're just putting it to sleep, then that's kind of working against us.
Okay, how much alcohol I can consume?
Okay, I'm going to be really, really unpopular for saying this. Okay. If you are in a context where you have dysregulated cholesterol and you have high blood pressure or some other issue, I'd say no alcohol is helpful. Yeah. I mean, some people are like, oh, that glass of wine, there's resveratrol, there's, all these like compounds in it. To me, that's analogous to saying, I'm having a burger because the pickles are healthy, or I'm having a burger because the sesame seeds, right? There's no amount of alcohol that's actually good for you, especially when the context that you're in is dysregulation. So I'm going to be very unpopular, but I'm going to say if you really want to lower your cholesterol and you really want to hit those root causes, alcohol for that period of time is not your friend.
Let's say I solve this cholesterol problem, and so the blood tests are okay, within the norm. Then can I have like a couple of glasses of wine? I mean, of course, it's better not to have like it at all. Yeah. But
Because I also don't want to be like this
Yes,
Brian
yeah,
Johnson
yeah,
guy
yeah.
who's just like extreme, like super extreme. So
Yeah.
I just want to also enjoy my life, still kind
Yeah.
of trying to be healthy.
Yeah. Well, then I'd say it kind of comes down to you. It's kind of like, what's your pattern? You know, like if you, let's say on a Friday night, you know that you're having drinks after work, or you're going, you know, somewhere special, or, you know, and you're having a glass and you're having a great glass of wine, you know, enjoy it. And it's very different than, I'm at the end of the week, I'm burned out, I'm drinking a bottle of wine by myself, right? That social context is also very important of how you're drinking. And then also thinking, you know, like the next day, what are my commitments? You know, do I have to wake up with the kids the next day? Do I have to do something with my parents, right? You know, or do I have a lie-in? So I think it's always about looking at the context of your life and then figuring it out. You know, if I said, okay, Max, you know, 2 glasses of wine every week is okay, but you know what, you don't feel great on that Friday night and you're drink, you know, and then because the next morning you have to wake up, then don't have it, right? But if you're in a relaxed environment and you feel like I can handle it, then that's your call. But if your context is that you have cholesterol dysregulation or something is off, I would say no alcohol is helpful during that time.
What's the best alcohol? Red wine? People say it's red wine. It's better than having the beer, for example.
Is there such a thing? I'd say that there's probably no amount of alcohol that's good. And it also depends on a person's genetics. For example, if you drink alcohol, whether it's spirits, wine, beer, and I drink alcohol, we'd have very different outcomes because I don't have the enzymes that process alcohol, right? And alcohol processing goes through a couple of enzyme conversions. So, whereas you genetically might have more of them, so you can process alcohol in a way that it results in the byproduct is, you know, water and carbon dioxide. It's safe. Whereas for me, I drink alcohol, I'll turn bright red, and that's my body saying, this is toxic, I can't break it down. And so it's not getting to the safe byproducts. It's stuck in that toxic middle. But again, wine versus spirits versus beer, I always tell people you got to test yourself, right? If you, for some reason, have a yeast intolerance and you're a beer drinker, that yeast is not going to be helpful for you, right? Or maybe something with red grapes or tannins. You can test for that. So again, doing that sort of sensitivity, reactivity test is really helpful because then you have blood data versus me saying yes or no, or versus you symptomatically saying yes or no. It's the blood data.
It's the same with, let's say, milk. Some people, they change normal milk to, let's say, oat milk, but they don't know if they actually need it to do,
Exactly, Or like if you, some people say, oh, I'm switching to soy milk, but you know what, maybe soy doesn't match with them, or maybe almond milk doesn't match with them, or cashew milk. So it's good to, I always tell people, know your food data, know how it impacts your body.
I'm a bit like struggling because you're helping me with the diet thing, but I'm struggling a bit because you're so like, how you call the best student in the class, and you kind of translate this approach to me as well. So, okay, you can cheat, but cheat maybe only 5%. Just a little.
Just 5%.
Just a little.
Yeah.
So you're really like into the full scale operation. But also maybe it depends on like, okay, if you want to tackle this thing, the cholesterol, then maybe we are more dedicated, like 95% during this period, and then maybe we can relax and do like 90%.
Yes, I always say 90-10 is the floor, right? So 90% of the time you're conscious, you're thinking, you're making those good choices. 10% of the time, save it as a quota, use it when you need it, right? And then when you're saving it, you don't have to always use it. If you don't use that quota, it's a buffer, right? So, but generally 90-10 as the floor.
I think it's a good goal because if you target for 90, you probably ended up with 85 or 80 in real life. It's like this Huberman, he said that if you want to do this intermediate fasting, you want to have like 8 hours eating window during the day. You need to target for 7 hours window because in reality they do tests. And in reality people actually, if they target for like 8 hours, the reality is 9 hours.
Yeah, you always budget yourself a little bit of a buffer. On the fasting though, that is, I'm actually doing a webinar on fasting in a couple of weeks. But fasting, I guess, is interesting, not to change topics.
Yeah.
But fasting is interesting because everyone focuses on the fasting time and not eating. But I always say you also have to fasting and feasting are two sides of the same coin. So while not eating has its benefits, doing that at the right time, under the right circumstances, and then choosing what you're feasting on is also just as important as avoiding those foods.
Okay.
And a lot of times people say, oh, fasting's amazing. Yes, but fasting is not a one-size-fits-all model. So there's very different approaches depending on what kind of context you're in and what your health situation is in. But
can you elaborate? Or?
So, for example, you'll have people who are obese, right? And you'll say, oh, they should be fasting for a really, really long time, right? But when you look at them and you actually run tests on them, they're actually, regardless of the fact that they're overweight, so they have a lot of fat or they have the macronutrients, they're actually micronutrient deficient. So when you're fasting and you're not consuming foods, you can have someone who is obese and they look like they should have enough energy to get them through. The problem is they don't have the micronutrients. So that fat metabolism doesn't happen and it doesn't break down. And then what happens is their cortisol increases and then it's stressful. So they actually hold on to more of that fat. So I try to remind people that fasting is important, but feasting and not being micronutrient deficient, there's a way to do that. So there's a way to do fasting. It's not just not eating.
Any advice how to put in your, like the fasting and the feasting timing, put it in your like normal social schedule and your social life?
The difficulty with that is that our society is geared towards very late night social events, and we don't really follow the natural kind of circadian rhythm. I think if people follow what I call physiological fasting, where you follow your normal physiology, you wake up when the sun is out, you start to wind down when the sun goes down, and then you kind of fast at nighttime, that actually works with your circadian rhythm. So, but obviously now, restaurants only open at 6. Or then people eat at 7, or you sit down for dinner at 8, especially if you're being social with friends, right? Or you'll go out late after that for drinks or something. So everything that's happening at night when we're supposed to drop our blood glucose so that we can have more melatonin, our sleeping hormone, we're kind of doing everything in reverse. Nowadays, what I hear is really popular are these like day clubs. So adults who want to go and enjoy nightlife, but also don't want to have the disadvantages of not sleeping. You start doing that in the daytime. Obviously the hard part with that is if you have kids and family, like can't really like day club when you have children. So, but socially speaking, it's hard because our society is kind of built in the way where it's more geared towards the night.
Yeah, that's actually my problem with like how to stay healthy, because like the whole rhythm of life and business, it doesn't help you to build these habits. If you want to have a dinner with clients, so a client probably will have free time after working hours, like at 7, 8 p.m. And then you cannot skip it, or you want to skip it, but then it doesn't help your business.
But it's funny because a lot of times people come in and say everyone is saying I want to eat earlier. I'm worried the other person doesn't, right? So I think as a society we're kind of realizing that part of being healthy is focusing on giving our time to rest and to sleep. But it's just matching the two, like you and your client, or you and your friend. And if you all said, hey, let's go out for dinner at 4:30, like you could do it. Maybe the restaurants aren't open. That's another hurdle. But if it was open, or you were eating at 4:30, you could have the same enjoyable experience at 4:30 as you do at 7:30, right?
It's just different vibe, because you go to the restaurant at 4:30 and it's empty.
Exactly.
And then you're sitting and then there are no people, and it's like, wow, weird.
Exactly. It's everyone with just the kids. But if it changed, so imagine if everyone started to change and then 4:30 was the popular spot, right? But that's a societal shift. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But
in Singapore, it's not too bad, because like compared to Spain or Italy, where restaurants really open like late. In Singapore, it's pretty much, they open all day long, most of the restaurants. And it feels actually like in Singapore, people, I don't know, maybe it's my social circle, especially after COVID, so many people want to like be healthy, and do sports and like exercise.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and you see these people around, it's like, oh, cool, I also want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's also building in different social activities, right? Maybe you guys don't have dinner together, but you go and you play paddle together, or you go for a walk together, right? That's still being social and connecting. And that's, I think, with post the pandemic, is people were missing that connection. So there's ways to do it that's not always around food.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit more creativity.
Is it a rule of thumb that I don't want to have any food intake 2 hours before going to sleep?
I think it's a great rule of thumb. I would actually say 3 hours.
3 hours is better.
It allows your body to fully sort of, digest as much as possible. You give your body time to drop that blood glucose, get it out of your blood, so that you can actually start to sleep better, and you can start creating more melatonin and switch into that fat burn.
Yeah. What about having your first meal? Like some say it's better to have 1 hour after you awake.
Yeah, I think people can be a lot more intuitive in the morning because you've slept, you've healed, and so people say, I'm not hungry yet for 45 minutes, or an hour, or maybe 2 hours. People are a lot more intuitive in the morning. So I just tell people, follow what you feel like. If you wake up at 7, but you're not hungry till 9, don't force yourself to eat at 7:30. Eat at 9. That's fine. But some people wake up and they say, oh, I'm really hungry. Then, kind of choose the right foods, green juice first, chia seeds, all those right foods on how you break your fast. So, that's why breaking your fast is really important, what you decide.
One of the few things that you were pushing when I saw you for our consultations, one is fresh juice.
Yes.
Okay, why fresh juice is so important?
The fresh green juices and how we start our day is so important because all of us don't get enough fiber in the natural foods that we eat. And fiber is what feeds our gut microbiome. And our gut microbiome takes that fiber and they create a byproduct. And these byproducts, these short chain fatty acids, these are signals to the rest of our other systems.
Yeah.
So our gut microbiome is actually considered the 9th body system. So it talks to our immune system. It talks to our endocrine system. It talks to our cardiovascular system. So we want to feed that system the right foods. And so that green juice, when we start off in the morning, and also if you think about some people, they sleep at night, and if you wear a CGM, they wake up in the morning and they're like, my blood sugar is still high, but I haven't eaten all night. Why is that? Because our body, our liver, says, okay, well, we're not eating, but I still need glucose. I still need to create energy for myself when I'm sleeping, because I'm actually really busy at night. I'm healing, I'm rejuvenating, I'm cleaning out the brain. All of that takes energy. So the liver is able to create energy, and it is able to release glucose at night. So some people wake up and they say, oh, my glucose is still high. Guess what? We need fiber in the morning to help bind and buffer that glucose that's still being released before we start having breakfast, before we add more glucose sources. So for me, that green juice that I'm really, really pushy on, it helps that blood sugar regulation, number 1. Number 2, it feeds our gut microbiome. And it's sort of like your liver that's worked really hard all night, your gut microbiome that's worked really hard all night, all that healing, all that fat burning, because fat burning happens at night, all the growing that kids need to do at night, all of that happens, and our body is so busy, and that's why we are asleep, because we don't have the energy to do anything else when our body is in that phase. So we kind of want to also thank our liver. We want to thank our liver and say, you know what, I appreciate that you've worked so hard. You're now releasing glucose, and you through this process called gluconeogenesis. And we want to thank the liver and support it. So we want to reward it with foods that is not hard work. If you start the morning with like bacon, eggs, butter, all of that needs processing. And all of that you need to like remove the toxins, remove the fats, remove the hormones. So our liver is then burdened with more work when it's just gone through this period at night of a lot of work. Whereas the green veg, it's very easy. So it's like a thank you for your liver. So yes, that is kind of one of the things that I'm very, very big on.
So for the juice, my kind of hesitation was, okay, I don't know how to make juice, how to prepare it, what ingredients. And what I ended up with, I opened the fridge, so I order a lot of like different vegetables and fruits. I opened the fridge and I put I know that the base will be apple normally for me to have a taste of like a little bit of sweet taste. Yeah. And I just cut different stuff, like a bit of avocado, a bit of everything. I just put everything in and blend. That's it. And it's actually, also the taste is a bit different every day, but it's also cool. Like every day is a little bit like different.
Yeah, exactly. There's no right or wrong, right? There's no like, you can buy a juice book or a smoothie book, right? Or it's just, at the end of the day, I went shopping and I had this left over, and it doesn't matter. Anything green goes in and you get all that nice goodness. And yes, the apple is kind of the consistent taste. Some people put banana, some people put berries, it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own preference, but you're then getting a good amount of fiber in the morning, and that's kind of the insurance. It doesn't mean that the rest of the day you don't eat fiber and you don't eat your greens. It's just that you're starting off on the right foot. It's kind of like setting your intention for the day.
Yeah. Another one is chia seed.
Chia seeds, yeah.
Why chia seed?
Think about, from a seed grows trees, plants, right? Those seeds have so many micronutrients, lots of vitamins, antioxidants, fiber, amino acids. They're just like little powerhouses packed. Chia seeds, like 1 tablespoon has 10 grams of fiber, has about 3 grams of amino acids. So it's a high protein, high fiber way to start the morning. Just to add, it's very easy to add, right? You can add it you can drink it with water plain if you want to. You can add it into a smoothie. You could add it into a bowl of fruits. You could add it into, so many things. It's so versatile. And so I find that's like a really easy hack that people can add in extra fiber without making it too difficult.
And what I do, what you taught me to do, like have a small bowl, I put chia seed, sometimes at the night before, and then just put water on, put it in the fridge, and you're good to go. So in the morning I just put some, let's say, blueberry, and that's it.
And it's like nice, the texture's nice. It's like eating a dessert almost, but it's not a bad dessert. It's like eating, something nice and like a pudding.
You can be proud of me because I cut on my coffee. So I used to have like 3 coffee normally. Now I have 1. And it feels like now I kind of try to think, okay, when do I want this cup of coffee? It's not automatically, I'm sleepy, I just my coffee. Now it's like, I feel like I want it now. And then I have it. More self-conscious about when I'm having it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the goal that I have with most people who I work with. It's just about being conscious about the choices. And I'm really happy to hear you've gone from 3 cups to 1 cup, because if you think about 3 cups a day in a month, 3 times 30, that's 90 cups of coffee. That's incredibly depletive on your system. And it just basically, all those water soluble, important B vitamins, C vitamins, all of those just get flushed out your system. So 1 cup a day, 1 cup every couple of days is better, right? We're trying to nourish ourselves. And so why would we drink something that is telling us to do the opposite, right? So we're trying to absorb all these micronutrients through our food, but then we're drinking a coffee that is telling our body, get rid of that. So it's like a mixed signal. And our bodies are not great when there's mixed signals.
Why exactly coffee is bad?
Again, I'm so unpopular for saying this, and people are always like, don't take my coffee away, right? Coffee is, number 1, it's the caffeine. So the caffeine, the half-life of caffeine is about 12 hours. So you have a cup of coffee in the morning, you still have half a cup of coffee visually at night in your system 12 hours later. That's not great for sleep. So if you're having it at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m., by 9 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m., you still imagine half that cup, like a half-life in our system. How are we expecting our body to create a lot of melatonin when we have caffeine in the system? It's a stimulant, number 1. Number 2, it's a diuretic. So, meaning wants us to lose water and we urinate more. But if anyone knows, your urine is not pure water, right? If you want to do a hormones test, a pregnancy test, you use your urine to test. It's not, if it was just water, we could drink our urine, but we can't. There's so much information in that. And there's a lot of vitamins, micronutrients, water-soluble micronutrients in that. So why would we constantly trying to drink something that is dehydrating us,
Yeah.
right? So that's number 2. Number 3, it's a vasoconstrictant. So a lot of studies say that, oh my God, it's great for the brain. It's coffee and the brain, it's amazing, it's a stimulant. It's like turning all the lights on in your house in the brain, right? But it's very expensive to do that. It's a lot of energy. And then equally to shut that down, that also requires a lot of energy. So as a vasoconstrictant, it just means that your arteries are constricted. But our brain still needs oxygen, it needs blood flow. So our body keeps that open, but it has to close off in other parts of our periphery.
Yeah.
So we're forcing the stimulation into the brain, but everywhere else we're constricting. And constriction is also stress, increases our blood pressure, right? So people spike up, spike down. So this constant like up and down, this is wear and tear, right? Increase in blood pressure, this also wears and tears our arteries over time. So for those reasons, I'm not a big fan.
Sometimes I can break up these habits, the healthy habits that I'm building with you. I think in 2 scenarios. One is when I'm traveling, and one if I'm too tired at night.
Okay.
Then if I'm too tired, I want some reward. And I can end up eating something that I'm not supposed to be, or like the timing is wrong. Any advice like maybe regarding psychology of how to stick to building habits?
In those moments of weakness, when we're sick physically or we're tired, I think it's like anything. Or if you're traveling, right? That's also a time when a lot of people say, oh, I just throw it all out the window. I think it's really important to be prepared, right? Like when you're gonna travel, you pack your clothes. You're like, okay, I need this many socks. I need this many t-shirts. I need to bring my toothbrush. I need to bring my passport. Same ideas. When you travel, you have to be prepared. Okay, which hotel am I staying at? Where am I going? Have a look at the menus that are on offer, or try and plan ahead a bit. Same thing when you're tired at home. Okay, I know I'm going to be tired after I do paddle at night. So let me make sure I have a green juice or something that I feel will give me satisfaction, but isn't going to just throw my habits out the window. When you're sick, also be prepared, right? So when you're sick, I generally like to say have a protocol for when you're sick. So if I'm sick, this is my own protocol I do in my own house. It is, I go very heavy on the lemon, fresh lemon and fresh ginger and hydration and soups, vegetable soups. That is like where I double down on.
Yeah.
So I know that if I'm going to get sick, that's my protocol. That is what I follow. In that protocol, I also avoid any refined sugars. I avoid any animal products during that time and any dairy products. I mean, I generally avoid those things, but that specifically is my protocol when people are sick. It's all about, again, supporting our immune system, supporting our gut microbiome to send the right signals to say, hey, we need to recover quickly. So it's about being prepared.
Actually, you gave me this advice, how to, remember I told you, okay, sometimes, let's say I have my lunch around 1 p.m., 2 p.m. And then every Tuesday I play football. So I play football at night. Normally it's like from 7 to 9 p.m. Then I come home and I'm quite hungry.
Yeah.
And I want to eat. And so you gave me this advice that actually worked. So I have my snack around 4 p.m., maybe 4:30 p.m. So I'm not so hungry before going to play football. And then when I'm back home, I need to go to shower, maybe put my daughter to sleep, and then go sleep myself. Not going to the kitchen, not open my laptop and try to work. So this day, I know I'll be tired. I might be a little bit hungry, even if I have my snack at 4 p.m. So just shower, get some rest, and go sleep myself. And that's it. So, and if you survive this 30-40 minutes, and then you go to sleep nicely at 10 p.m., then you'll be happy the next day.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. And that's a really, really good example. It's just that you are mentally prepared for that kind of day, right? And that makes it a lot easier. And you know that, right, 30 minutes, I'm going to be a little hungry, but if I just don't try to distract myself and I just say, I'm going to go to sleep, my blood sugar is low, I'm going to have really good sleep, and I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'll be hungry and I'll eat then. That's okay. I think a lot of us now sometimes are afraid of feeling hungry. It's just we haven't been used to it. I've had some people I work with, they message me and they're like, I have this weird feeling. I haven't felt it. And I'm like, is it hunger? They're like, oh, I'm hungry. It's really funny because they haven't felt hungry. And so yeah, I think it's good. But again, you were prepared for that mentally. And then the next morning you have something that you're ready for. So that's a really good example.
We had like how many, 4 sessions or 5 sessions with you?
I think we had 4.
So your typical one is like 5 sessions every week. Yeah, that's the kind of the package that you have.
So generally I like to tell people, I don't want to see you more than 5 times because if I'm seeing you more than 5 times, I'm doing something wrong. So I try to space out those 4 sessions so that we can work on kind of clearing those big hurdles. You know, what is it really that is blocking you from making the changes? So usually within 4 to 5 sessions, we try to accomplish that. It helps when we have more diagnostics. So if someone comes to me before my first sessions and I have all these diagnostics, I've had one person, they had run their genome test, their microbiome test. They basically did every test. They sent it to me. I was able to see basically like under the hood, like who they are. And in the first session, we could talk about exactly what they need to change. They went out and did that. That was all in one session. But most people don't have all those diagnostics. So that's where usually I'm explaining why we need certain diagnostics and why this is helpful and how, you know, so that's kind of the range. But I generally try to tell people I'm here more as like an intervention, right? I'm not here to babysit you and hold your hand for years and years. Yes, like let's do an intervention and then see me again in 6 months when you redo your blood tests so that we have the evidence, right, to back up all the changes we've done. And I've worked with people over the years, but I don't see them every single week. So I'm a believer that it's almost like if I were an architect for your house, I would design your house, but I'm not the builder, right? You're going to go out and do that building. So it's really that kind of first phase, and then we check in and see whether or not the building has matched the architecture.
Are people who come to you, I guess some of them have like some issues already, and some of them just want to be healthier.
Yeah.
Is it the thing? Yeah.
Most people who I work with usually have some underlying chronic condition. Whether it's metabolic syndrome or whether they are overweight or whether they have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatever, or a bunch of it, or they have an autoimmune issue like lupus. So I work with actually quite a big range of people. In your instance, you came in and it was just high cholesterol. And when we talked about it, we were like, this is your body giving you that first signal saying, hey Max, I'm 40. All the things that you've been doing might not work for me in the next decade. So I'm giving you a little signal. You have the privilege of having diagnostics, so let's use that to make the change. But no, it's really interesting because I realize like every single person is different and everyone's context is very different. So when we talk about nutrition advice, it's very specific to each person and their personal situation.
Yeah. If, let's say, our viewers want to reach out, what's the best way to do it?
LinkedIn, right? Find me on LinkedIn. I think that's.
And just send a message.
Just send me a message, yeah.
And Jieun she's very open to help. I see your passion about it. Even like you were chasing me like late at night, in the morning, like where you send me the photo of this chia seed. It's like, okay, yeah. That's always cool to see people with the passion about their job.
Thanks. So, yeah. I know. I like to tell people who when I see them, I get invested as much as they're invested in themselves. I'm invested as well, right? So I know that there are certain algorithms that apply to everyone, and I can sense that sometimes people are scared to change or it's inconvenient to change. They just need a little encouragement. So that's really where I like to come in. I don't want to nag anybody, and I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, she's nagging me. I don't want it to be like that, but I want that, like some people just need a little bit of a nudge in the right direction.
Okay, so just mention that you came from Max Chernov YouTube channel and maybe you get some special deal.